Welcome to the deep dive. I am so incredibly glad you decided to join us today.
Yeah, it's a really timely one today.
It really is, because we are looking at something that honestly is probably affecting you or someone you work with right at this very moment.
Oh, almost certainly.
Today, we are pointing our lens directly at a phenomenon that organizational researchers are now officially calling AI brain fry.
It's a highly evocative term, isn't it? And incredibly timely given where we are in the adoption curve of these new technologies.
Yeah. To guide our deep dive today, we are pulling from a truly fascinating article by Dr. Jonathan H. Westover.
Right.
It's titled Curing AI Brain Fry, Managing Cognitive Load in Automation. And what makes this particular source so compelling is that Dr. Westover isn't just, theorizing in a vacuum here.
No, not at all. He is drawing on some very recent large-scale survey data.
Exactly. We are talking about responses from nearly 1,500 full-time workers in the United States, and it's backed up by some serious organizational research.
Which gives us a robust empirical foundation to work from. We aren't just looking at isolated anecdotes of people feeling tired.
Right, like just a few people complaining around the water cooler.
Exactly. We are analyzing measurable, workplace-wide data that reveals systemic shifts in how we actually work.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out a modern workplace mystery. We want to understand why the very artificial intelligence tools that were universally sold to us as these ultimate cognitive saviors.
The tools that were supposed to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, the platforms that were supposed to save our brains, streamline our days, and just make our work lives infinitely easier are actually causing severe cognitive overload.
Right.
And more importantly, we're going to look at exactly how you can manage it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the central paradox of our current technological era really starts with that initial narrative. When generative AI tools first hit the public market and became commonplace, seemingly overnight, the messaging was entirely about liberation.
Oh, completely. It was this massive gold rush. Everyone was drawn in by the promise of skyrocketing productivity.
Slashing operational costs.
Yes, and gaining this massive competitive edge. I mean, the pitch was essentially that we would do less of the boring, repetitive stuff, and the company would naturally make more money.
It sounded like the ultimate win-win scenario.
It really did.
But the source material highlights a critical turning point we've reached. We have largely moved past those initial small-scale pilot programs.
The honeymoon phase is over.
Basically, yes. We are now deeply entering the phase of enterprise-wide deployment, where AI is integrated into the daily, routine workflows of the average employee.
Right.
And as that adoption matures and scales, this troubling pattern has emerged. Instead of easing the cognitive burden on workers, the AI is amplifying it. It is actually making the mental load significantly heavier.
Which brings us to the core condition Dr. Westover's article explores. How exactly are the researchers defining AI brain fry?
Well, researchers, specifically those from the Boston Consulting Group cited in the text, categorize AI brain fry as a highly specialized form of technostress.
Technostress.
Right. Technostress, broadly speaking, is the negative psychological state that arises from our overall use of technology.
Okay.
AI brain fry is a distinct variant defined as the mental fatigue resulting from the excessive use of, interaction with, and oversight of AI tools to a point that pushes an individual well beyond their cognitive capacity.
Beyond their cognitive capacity. I mean, just that phrase alone sounds exhausting.
It really does.
And the symptoms that the surveyed workers are reporting are incredibly visceral. If you are listening to this, I want you to mentally check off if any of this sounds familiar to your own daily routine.
It's a very relatable list.
It is. Workers are describing this thick mental fog. They report a persistent buzzing sensation in their heads, actual physical tension headaches, and severely impaired decision-making as the afternoon wears on.
The afternoon slump is getting much worse.
Yeah. And my absolute favorite description from the source, because it paints such a vivid picture, is the feeling that your mind contains a dozen browser tabs open, all fighting for attention.
That metaphor perfectly captures the fractured nature of modern attention under these new conditions.
That's so accurate.
And the demographics of who is experiencing this are equally revealing. According to the data in Dr. Westover's research, a full 14% of the surveyed U.S. workers explicitly report experiencing this intense level of cognitive overload.
14%. That is a massive slice of the entire U.S. workforce.
It is. Furthermore, the text notes that this 14% figure likely understates the true scope of the issue.
Oh, because people don't know what to call it yet.
Exactly. Many people simply might not yet have the vocabulary to identify what they are feeling as a specific AI-related phenomenon. They might just think they're having a bad month at the office.
Just feeling burned out in general.
Right. And the prevalence also isn't distributed evenly across the economy. The data shows it is heavily concentrated in roles that are extensively using AI right now.
Which makes sense. Who are we talking about specifically?
Specifically, marketing, software development, human resources, finance, and information technology.
Wow. So if you are listening to this right now and you work in marketing, dev, HR, finance, or IT, you are sitting right in the blast radius of this phenomenon.
You really are.
You are the vanguard, essentially, testing the biological limits of human-AI interaction. The biggest question this raises is why this is happening to us.
To understand the mechanisms at play, we really need to look at the underlying science, specifically cognitive load theory.
Okay.
This theory provides the essential framing for Dr. Westover's entire analysis. The fundamental premise of cognitive load theory is that human working memory.
That's the part of your brain that actively holds and processes information in real time, right?
Exactly. It holds, processes, and manipulates information, and it has a very strict, biologically limited capacity.
It's like a bucket. It can only hold a specific amount of water at any given moment before it just starts spilling over the sides.
That's a great way to look at it. When task demands exceed the capacity of that biological bucket, performance degrades dramatically, and mental fatigue begins to rapidly accumulate. What's fascinating here is that AI tools paradoxically increase this cognitive load rather than reduce it.
Wait, they increase it. I thought they were supposed to do the work for us.
Right, but they do this through 4 primary drivers identified in the research, starting with information overload.
Information overload makes perfect sense when you think about the sheer speed of these tools.
AI generates information at a velocity and volume that far outpaces the human brain's evolutionary ability to process it. It is producing text, data, code, and analysis exponentially faster than anyone can read, let alone comprehend.
You ask an AI a complex question, and 3 seconds later you have a 5-page, highly detailed report that you now have to actually sit down, read, and evaluate.
Precisely.
Which naturally bleeds into the second driver the text mentions, which is task switching costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because AI allows a user to jump between wildly different types of work so rapidly.
Like drafting a sensitive client email, then instantly pivoting to analyzing a massive spreadsheet.
And then generating a block of code right after that. The user is constantly shifting their mental context. Decades of cognitive research show that every single time you switch context, you deplete your mental resources.
So there is a heavy cognitive toll paid with every pivot.
Exactly.
That constant pivoting sounds brutal. I imagine the actual management of these tools plays a significant role in this fatigue as well.
That is the third driver, oversight demands. Managing multiple AI agents is incredibly draining work. The text shares a compelling data point on this. High oversight responsibilities predicted a 12% increase in mental fatigue.
12% just from overseeing the AI.
Yes. Workers aren't just doing their jobs anymore, they are effectively managing digital entities doing the work.
That brings us to the fourth driver, the uncertainty and verification burden. It's that constant nagging need to verify if the AI's output is actually reliable or if it just hallucinated a wildly incorrect fact with absolute, unwavering confidence.
Which happens frequently. Users are forced into a constant state of metacognitive effort. They are perpetually evaluating the evaluator.
Wait, metacognitive effort. Let's break that down. So we are talking about thinking.
Essentially, yes.
Instead of just doing the math, I'm spending all my mental energy evaluating how the AI did the math.
Effectively, yes. Your brain is no longer simply executing a task from start to finish.
Yeah.
It is suspended in a state of high alert critical analysis.
Looking for mistakes.
Right, trying to spot invisible errors in a highly polished output generated by a machine whose reasoning process is completely opaque to you. That requires significantly more working memory than just writing a first draft yourself.
Reading through these 4 drivers, the overload, the task switching, the oversight, the verification, an analogy immediately sprang to mind that I think grounds this perfectly.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
It's like you've been abruptly promoted to middle management, and your new team consists of 5 overly enthusiastic, incredibly fast, but slightly unreliable interns.
That paints a very accurate picture of the modern knowledge worker's dilemma.
Imagine these interns for a second. They type 1,000 words a minute. They hand you comprehensive market reports before you even finished articulating the prompt.
Right.
But They also occasionally make up financial numbers out of thin air, or they fundamentally misunderstand the delicate tone you asked for in a sensitive HR email.
Which is dangerous.
Exactly. You can never just take their work and blindly pass it along to your boss. You have to read every single line they write. You have to constantly switch your brain from the writing task to the editing and fact-checking task.
And that burns energy.
You are managing them, verifying them, and dealing with the sheer mountain of paper they are dropping on your desk every 3 minutes. No wonder you go home with a buzzing in your head. You haven't done any of your own deep, fulfilling work. You've spent 8 hours mentally babysitting a team of digital interns.
That babysitting dynamic represents a fundamental mismatch between human cognitive architecture and current AI deployment patterns. We are forcing our brains to operate in ways they were not evolutionarily designed to function for 8 straight hours a day.
So what does this all mean? What happens when we push our cognitive limits like this, day after day, week after week?
The fallout is severe, cascading across both the individual worker and the broader organization.
Let's start with the individual worker.
On an individual level, the source details how this chronic cognitive overload directly contributes to serious psychological and physical consequences. Workers are dealing with heightened generalized anxiety, significant sleep disturbances, and ultimately severe burnout. The technostress doesn't stay at the office. It follows them home.
It shatters the boundary between work and rest. If your brain is vibrating with a dozen open tabs at 5 p.m., you don't just magically power down at 5:01 p.m. You take that decision fatigue to the dinner table.
You really do. And Dr. Westover highlights another, perhaps more insidious consequence for the individual professional.
What's that?
An alarming trend regarding career stalling.
Career stalling because of AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
The AI environment forces relentless task switching and constant surface-level verification, which effectively prevents deep engagement. Deep engagement, the ability to sit with a complex problem, struggle with it, and synthesize a novel solution, is the foundational requirement for skill mastery.
This point is so critical for everyone listening to internalize. If you care about your long-term career trajectory, you have to actively protect your deep engagement time.
Absolutely.
If your entire job becomes just reviewing and tweaking the mediocre first drafts generated by AI, you are never actually stretching your own cognitive muscles. You are losing the deliberate practice required to become a true, irreplaceable expert in your field. Your career development literally stalls out because you are skimming the surface of your profession instead of diving into the depths of it.
The risk for individual professionals is profound. Naturally, these individual consequences roll up into massive organizational costs.
The ripple effect.
Exactly. The hard numbers from the survey illustrate a looming crisis. Workers experiencing this AI brain fry showed a 33% increase in decision fatigue.
A 33% increase. Think about what that practically means for a company's bottom line. A third more of your critical business decisions, budget approvals, strategic pivots, hiring choices, are being made by people whose brains are basically running on fumes.
It's dangerous.
That is a recipe for catastrophic corporate errors.
Furthermore, the intent to leave the company, a leading indicator of employee turnover, increased by nearly 10% among those suffering from this cognitive overload.
10%.
Organizations are not only suffering from degraded decision quality, but they are also actively driving their top talent out the door.
It completely cannibalizes the cost savings the AI was supposed to bring in the first place. If a company has to rehire and retrain 10% more of its workforce because it fried their brains with poorly implemented tools, they aren't saving money, they are hemorrhaging it.
The source emphasizes that this mismatch between AI's glittering promise and the current grueling reality requires a fundamental redesign of work systems. The current trajectory is simply unsustainable.
Let's pivot to the cure then. How do organizations actually fix this before the entire workforce burns out?
The first crucial step is a massive mindset shift at the executive level. Organizations must move away from the prevailing model of AI as amplification.
Amplification meaning just doing more things faster, cranking up the volume on output without changing the underlying process.
The necessary shift is toward AI as augmentation. This paradigm means utilizing the technology to enhance human capabilities, but strictly within sustainable, biologically realistic parameters. It prioritizes working better and deeper rather than just faster and harder.
Here's where it gets really interesting because the text doesn't just leave us with high-level philosophy. Dr. Westover provides a roadmap of evidence-based actionable interventions. Let's break down how a company actually implements this augmentation mindset on a Tuesday morning.
The first, highly practical intervention involves implementing cognitive recovery mechanisms.
Okay, what does that look like?
Specifically, the research recommends structuring the workday to include 15-minute recovery blocks every 90 minutes.
I love this, but I want to ground it in reality. A recovery block doesn't mean switching from writing a report to checking your email, does it?
Not at all.
It means stepping away. It's an acknowledgement that the brain is a biological organ, not a server. You can't run it at 100% capacity continuously. You need those 15 minutes of zero screen time, maybe taking a walk or just staring at a wall, to let the cognitive RAM clear out.
The research is clear that true cognitive recovery requires a complete cessation of information processing.
Which is hard for a lot of people to actually do.
It is, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
The second intervention tackles how we manage that intern problem you described earlier. Organizations need to implement structured oversight protocols.
So instead of forcing workers to read every single line of code or every single word of a 50-page report the AI generates, how do they oversee the output safely?
They establish explicit quality criteria and utilize strategic sampling approaches based on risk. For instance, an internal team memo might not require line-by-line verification, whereas a client-facing financial projection demands rigorous auditing.
That makes total sense.
You don't verify every output, you sample outputs based on their potential impact. This targeted approach drastically reduces the verification burden and the associated task switching costs.
It's about building a system of trust and targeted auditing, rather than absolute micromanagement of the machine.
Exactly. The third area of intervention is governance and literacy. Organizations must rationalize their tool sets.
Rationalize their tool sets.
A common mistake is providing employees with 10 different overlapping AI tools and expecting them to seamlessly integrate them. There must be clear, rationalized usage policies and comprehensive development of role-specific AI skills.
Giving someone a powerful tool without training is like giving someone a sports car and not teaching them how to drive a manual transmission. You're just going to burn out the clutch.
That's a perfect analogy.
A bad policy is saying, use AI to be more productive. A good policy is teaching a marketing team the exact prompts and guardrails for generating ad copy, eliminating the cognitive tax of trial and error.
Yes, providing the guardrails is key. The final intervention from the text is perhaps the most critical for leadership to internalize: changing performance metrics.
This is where the rubber meets the road for the listener. If your boss gives you an AI tool but still judges your performance solely on the volume of your output, you are doomed to get brain fry.
Without a doubt.
If they demand 50 articles a week instead of 10 just because you have an AI chatbot, the tool hasn't helped you, it's just accelerated your treadmill.
Organizations must shift their performance metrics to deeply value the quality, strategic impact, and sustainability of the work over pure, unadulterated volume.
Quality over quantity.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the organizations that are actually going to survive and thrive in the next decade aren't the ones who just buy the most enterprise AI licenses. According to the research, sustainable AI integration requires cultivating a deeply human-centered culture. It requires developing distributed AI fluency across all levels of the organization and establishing continuous learning systems.
So it's an ongoing process.
Completely. The most forward-thinking companies will be those that partner with their workers to run structured experiments, build communities of practice, and crucially, conduct longitudinal tracking of cognitive health metrics right alongside their traditional productivity metrics.
They're going to have to treat the mental bandwidth of their employees as a critical, finite corporate resource, protected just as fiercely as capital or server space.
Ultimately, Dr. Westover's conclusion is that AI brain fry reveals a fundamental mismatch between how we recklessly deploy new tech and how our brains actually function.
That brings us to our core takeaway for today's deep dive. If we want to survive this AI revolution, if you, listening right now, want to thrive in your career without frying your brain, we have to lean heavily into the things that AI cannot replicate. We have to fiercely protect our uniquely human cognitive capabilities. I'm talking about our contextual judgment, our creative synthesis, our ethical reasoning, and our adaptive learning.
The things that make us human.
Exactly. The AI can generate the raw data and the first drafts, but only you can decide what that data actually means in the messy, nuanced context of human lives and complex business realities.
This raises an important question, a thought to carry with you after we wrap up today. If we continuously rely on AI for the rapid generation of information, and if, as the research warns, this prevents the deep engagement needed for skill mastery, are we risking a future where humans simply forget how to be experts?
Oh, that is a chilling thought to end on.
Hmm.
If we outsource all of the foundational, struggling in the weeds work to the machines, will the next generation of workers even possess the contextual judgment and creative synthesis required to oversee those very machines?
It's a real concern.
Or will those vital human cognitive muscles simply atrophy from lack of use? If you never learn to build the foundation, can you honestly be trusted to inspect the house? That is exactly the kind of profound question we need to be asking ourselves as we navigate this new landscape.
Really do.
Are we building tools that augment our minds, or are we building crutches that will eventually leave us unable to walk on our own? Something very deep to chew on today. Listen, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I highly encourage you to take the advice from the research. The moment this finishes, go ahead and actively close a few of those mental browser tabs. Step away from the screen, leave the AI running in the background, and go take a 15-minute cognitive recovery break. You and your brain absolutely deserve it. We will catch you on the next one.